Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dashboard. Every Monday, Gene Marks and I will have a quick conversation about the issues we think business owners should be monitoring this week. Gene is president of the Marks Group, a consulting firm that advises small businesses, especially about their technology needs. He also hosts his own podcast, Small Biz Ahead, with the Hartford Insurance. You can find it at sba.hartford.com. Welcome, Gene. How you doing?
Hey, Lauren, thanks for having me on. This is so much fun talking to you every week.
Always a pleasure.
We have a lot to yell about this week.
Yes, we do. Let's start actually with the same story we started with last week, which is the vaccine mandate that President Biden announced. Last week, you called it a nightmare for small businesses, but on Friday, you published a piece in which you said you changed your mind. What happened?
Yeah. First of all, this is your fault. I want you to know that. I mean, we talked last week, and here I was saying like this is a nightmare. This is like going to be a problem, and then it was our conversation, where I was started thinking harder about it, and here's the deal, right? I mean, I put this up. I wrote about this in the Hill this week, where I write about every week or every other week on matters related to small businesses, and the issue, Lauren, is has to do with the mandate. So just a quick recap. If you're a relatively small business and you've got more than 100 employees, you are, the president is mandating you now to either ensure and get the documentation from employees that are fully vaccinated, or they have to be required to get weekly, tests, for COVID, and you have to keep records of that as well. Otherwise, you can face some pretty stiff fines. And so a lot of my clients, when we were talking about this, were up in arms about this and all that kind of stuff. And then, I don't know, Laura, man, I started thinking about this, and I was looking back in history. And I'm like, in thousands of years of recorded human history, governments have put mandates and requirements and all sorts of restrictions on small businesses. I mean, Egyptian armies, taking over, Egyptian businesses in the times of Antony.
What? You really did a deep dive on this, Gene.
Oh, yeah. I mean, during the time of Tiberius, Caligula, Augustus, the Roman emperors, they took business assets. But okay, let's fast forward it to like the current day. Even in World War II, Lauren, if you're running a business, and the government says we're at war now, so you're going to stop making what you're making, and we need you to make tanks. I mean, these are like big asks of businesses back then, and those were wars. And here's what the numbers are: we have had more people die of COVID in this country than in both World War I and World War II combined. And we've had, the number of deaths of COVID even exceeds the number of people that we lost in the Civil War. So it's like a big deal. And what is President Biden asking us to do? Make sure our workers are vaccinated, or at least get documentation, and so that they're getting tested every week. Like, boo freaking who? I just started, and I was saying this to some of my clients because they were complaining and like, oh my God, these mandates. And I'm like, would you just shut the hell up already?
Well, you wrote that. You wrote that in your piece in the Hill. You told your own clients to shut up.
Shut the hell up.
Did you hear from any of them after you wrote that?
No, I mean, I've known them for years, and I've, and they know me, that I'm going to be honest with them. But I'm like, come on, man, this is all that they're asking for. Yeah, I know it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, and I know you've got to get your, HR person to go around and interview all your employees and all right. But I mean, for God's sake, it's not like, Biden's coming in and telling you you're going to take away your business because he needs it to make, ice cream. He's a big fan of ice cream, or make munitions for some world war. I mean, Jesus. I mean, just shut up and just do it and move on and stop spending all this time complaining about it. You've got other things to worry about, like running your business. So just do it, and hopefully we'll get through this and you move on from it. So that was my message.
Well, I can tell you, people are paying attention. I highlighted it in the morning report on Friday, and I got a couple of angry emails from people. Thank you very much, Gene.
What are we taking away your freedoms? Oh, your freedoms are going away. Oh, you're being restricted from the
boy, you're really going all in.
Oh, please.
I also heard from our mutual friend Jay Goltz, who appears on this podcast, the 21 Hats podcast, from time to time. And Gene said, you know, he wasn't one of your complainers, but he had been concerned. He was worried about losing employees. He does have a group of employees who work in his plant who are not vaccinated, and many of them are really good people who've been with him for 20 years, and he's not looking forward to that. But after reading your piece, he said, you know what the hell, this makes no sense. I'm doing it, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I always knew Jay was a smart guy, you know, so I mean that just proves it. But you know, on top of that, listen, that's what some people have told me this as well, like, oh, we're going to lose our employees. And listen, it's a short supply of labor, so you know, but honestly, this is a mandate on all employers. So first of all, if employees leave you, they're going to go somewhere else.
Where are they going, right?
Yeah.
Although there is the issue of businesses that have fewer than 100 employees.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know that there is something to that. That's interesting. I wonder if there's going to be any movement to try to include them.
We may get there. We may get there. I'm telling all of my clients, man, like just get ready, you know, and do this. And as far as getting the testing, I mean, there are plenty of free testing sites around. There's, you know, you can get them home tests if you want to spend the money or, you know, and I'm sure it's covered from insurance as well. I mean, I know it's a pain. I realize that. But for goodness sake, we're fighting a war. We really are. So, you know, and one final thing on that note is, which I didn't even put in the column, but, you know, it's like, it's a great way out. I mean, you know, if your employees are angry with you, you could be like, hey, man, it's not me. It's President Biden. It's the government telling me to do this. Yeah, what do you want me to do? So, I don't know. I think if you've got a good enough relationship with your employees, you can figure something out. That's all. Next issue.
It keeps getting harder to compete with Amazon for employees. They got facilities all over the country. They're hiring people by the tens of thousands. And in some places, they're paying $3,000 hiring bonuses. You wrote a piece suggesting that smaller businesses can actually match or exceed that bonus and do it with government money. Explain how they can do that.
Yeah, here's another thing that not as many of my clients know about, and it is an amazing benefit that the federal government is offering. It's called the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, Lauren, and you know because of the stimulus bills, they've extended it now through 2025. And what this credit is it goes against your income taxes, so it lowers your income tax bill. This is like money that you won't have to spend. If you hire anybody that's out of the military, that's off of welfare, that's out of prison, or, and this is most important, has been unemployed for more than 6 months. And we know they're all coming back now because those benefits are running out, right? Well, if you hire any of those people, you can get a credit of up to $9,600 per employee that you hire. And this thing, again, goes through 2025. So you can do this for the next few years. So, you know, my advice to you, if you're listening to this right now and you're trying to compete and you're like, oh my God, freaking Amazon with their hiring bonuses. Okay, listen, when you find that good employee and you want to give them an offer, before you do, call up your accountant, ask your accountant, what would my work opportunity tax credit be for this employee? This person's been out of work for 6 months. The accountant will do the math. The accountant will tell you, well, if you're going to pay this person, I don't know, 45 grand, your tax credit will be 5 grand. Okay, great. Hang up the phone, call up the prospective employee and say, listen, come and work for us. We'll give you a $4,000 hiring bonus to come and join our company. That's more than Amazon's giving. And you're still $1,000 ahead because you're getting a $5,000 tax credit. So you got to do it in advance of hiring because a form has to be filled out. You're actually applying for this. But it is a huge, huge deal. And it's a way for you to beat Amazon at their own game and other companies by offering this hiring bonus to your employees and letting the government pay you for it. So it's called the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, Lauren, and every business should be well aware of it.
And could it possibly be more valuable than right now with so many people coming off unemployment?
Absolutely. I mean, the timing is perfect. I mean, everybody is, I've been yelling and screaming about, the federal unemployment benefit and, everybody's staying up. Well, okay, you got the perfect storm. The unemployment benefits have now run out after Labor Day. Everybody's going back to school, which is great. They're keeping the schools open. So, people have less and less of a reason to stay home from work. So now they're going out looking for jobs. And a lot of these people have been unemployed for 6 months. So many are qualified for that work opportunity tax credit.
All right. Next item. This is a piece you wrote for The Guardian. You took a shot at another group of business owners. You wrote that restaurant owners are stiffing their employees by not paying them enough. Tell us more.
Yeah. Okay. So, Lauren, this is another like what the fuck example. Okay. I mean, this is happening all over the country. This happened in Philadelphia. So, my hometown, and you're close enough. I'm going to call them out. They're the Bottle Bar East restaurant in Philadelphia. Okay. They were found in violation by a federal court of withholding wages to the tune of almost $250,000 from their employees. They owed money to like 73 employees, bartenders, servers, cooks, and dishwashers. Some employees were owed as much as $42,000. If you
were they shorting them, or were they just not paying them? Or how
shorting them? And here's what they do. It's they all play. And by the way, once I saw this Bottle Bar restaurant, I'm like, man, these guys are just dicks. I mean, how many other people are doing this? Sure enough, I started searching around, and there's all these other restaurants all around. I mean, I had dozens of cases, and I just included a handful in this article. I didn't have the internet didn't have enough space for me to include them all, of these restaurants that are shorting their employees on their wages. And what are they doing? Well, first of all, in Pennsylvania, all the states have similar rules. In Pennsylvania, a restaurant only has to pay a worker $2.83 as a minimum wage, as long as the worker is making enough tips to take them above the $7.65 national minimum wage. Okay, so the workers trust the employers to keep track of that and to keep track of the tips that they're receiving. And what do the employers do? They take these tips and they don't allocate them. They stuff them in their pockets. So it's not even like they're withholding them. They're basically not sharing the tips that these workers have earned. And remember, this is a lot of it's on the honor system. These people, these servers, these bartenders, the cooks, they're running around. They don't have the time to track all of this. They're hoping their employer is going to do this. Well, guess what? The employer's not. And there was restaurants in New York. There was restaurants again. There was a casino in Pennsylvania, a restaurant in Nashville. They're all like messing around with their employees' tips. They're either telling them they didn't make the minimum wage, or they're just flat out not reimbursing them for the tips that they were owed. And the employees don't know any difference. And then finally, when they start asking questions, they have to file this lawsuit. I can't imagine any employee, once this becomes public for a restaurant, wanting to work for a place like this. I mean, there was another one, Chicky and Pete's. Are you familiar with them?
Sure.
In Philly?
Sure.
Yeah. So they had the same, this isn't like, and I want to say, these are not people that are allegedly or that they were accused of. These are like actual lawsuits that were settled or they were found guilty of. Chicky and Pete's did the same thing a few years ago, and I refused to eat at a Chicky and Pete's because I just think those guys are just such jerks for doing that. So anyway, it's going on all over the place. There's
let's talk about that. First of all, I think you slipped and said that the national minimum wage is $7.65. As I know, it's $7.25.
Sorry, $7.25. You're right.
No worries.
It's $7.25.
No worries.
Right.
But how? I mean, this is indefensible. But restaurant owners in general, it's been tough. It's a tough business. Yeah, it was a tough business before COVID. Nobody ever said that their profit margins were too big. What about the typical?
Lauren, are you defending them? Is that your defense? Are you literally saying
yes,
wow,
I am defending.
They have a really tough year, so I guess I can understand why they stole this money from their employees.
No, I am not. No, it's not. but thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain. No, I am not defending stealing money, but I don't believe, and I don't think you do either, that this is typical of most restaurants. Do you?
No, I know that it is not typical of most restaurants.
So, my point is, do you think what you're saying applies to those restaurants as well? I mean, my personal opinion is we need a new business model for restaurants. This model did not work before COVID. Business owners didn't make enough money, and the employees weren't getting paid enough, and something has to change. One of the things might be higher prices, but that's another podcast. But I don't think it's fair to tar all restaurant owners with the same brush.
You're absolutely right about that. So I'm not doing that. I mean, it is, but it is enough restaurant owners that, and it gets enough bad attention that it puts a black mark on the rest of the industry, particularly towards those restaurant owners that are doing a good job. But what's the solution for this, Lauren? I can tell you what it is. You do away with tipping. I mean, when I was in Australia a few years ago, there's no tips in Australia. I mean, it's a higher price and you pay it, but the price winds up being the same because it's just the tips are baked in. So it's just the workers.
I didn't know about Australia. That's really interesting. It has been tried here. Some very prominent people have tried it and failed with it. Thing. Yeah, for all sorts of reasons.
It's just a cultural thing. But the problem is that you've got tips and then you've got this tipped wage calculation. So now the restaurant owners have to keep track of what the tipped wage is. Did each employee get enough in tips to take them over the tipped wage? They can continue to pay the tip wage and not the full minimum wage. And then they got to account for the tips. And we do all of that. And so it's all this extra stuff that they've got to do. Some make mistakes and withhold it, but others, it just gives them so much room to take advantage of their employees. And, if you did away with that system, that would end it. Is that realistic? Probably not, because I don't think we're going to change that in this country's culture. But I will tell you one thing, change. You hear about those restaurants that are taking advantage of their employees like that. I mean, don't eat there.
I think that's good advice. All right, last item. The BBC ran a piece this week talking about how COVID may have just now finally killed off the business card. What do you think?
What are business cards? I mean, I haven't used a business card. I bought a box of business cards from my business for myself probably 10 years ago. I swear to God, Lauren, it's like all still sitting there in my desk drawer. I mean, way before COVID.
I was still using them when I went to conferences. I would hand them out. That was...
I don't do that. I mean, I just tell everybody, like, find me on LinkedIn. I mean, I think business cards are so old fashioned that I can't even I don't even use them. But okay, I mean, I guess, and when I go to conferences, I mean, I don't usually get people giving me their business cards. I mean, I just tell them, well, my name is Gene Marks and I'm on LinkedIn. So
I was going to say the other side of that is I hand out mine and I take other people's and then I put them in a box and never ever look at them again.
And you never look at them. Yeah, again. One thing is funny. I actually had a stack of business cards from like 20 years ago that I never threw out. I literally just
I still got them. I got my business cards from every job I've ever worked.
Yeah, they're classics.
I've got all of the business cards from people I've met who knows where, people whose names I don't even recognize anymore.
So first of all, just so we know, I mean, if you have a business card, just download the LinkedIn app, and if somebody says, hey, look me up, say great, find them on LinkedIn, and then connect with them that way, because then you could do so much more with them than just exchanging a business card, and you have to carry it around. And secondly, by the way, I guess the BBC is making the case that business cards are because they're filthy and they have germs on them, and everybody's going to get sick and die because we're exchanging a business card. And to that, I'm like, that's absolutely ridiculous. I can't imagine it being unhealthy. I think the only thing that it's unhealthy for is the environment, and also for my time carrying around these business cards and having to transcribe them into my CRM system.
Well, I think there was a time early in the pandemic when we weren't sure exactly how this thing was spread, and people were wary about shaking hands, anything like that. And I think it started there, and I'm not sure it's coming back. There are new technologies. I wonder if you've tried anything. You think that you could touch phones and exchange data. There's another one that uses QR codes. Have you tried anything like that?
No. First of all, there was a time as well when a lot of humans thought that lightning storms were a sign from the gods. You know what I mean? So things do change. Secondly, I've been through all these different business card, these contact apps where you touch phones and, touch fingers and, kiss each other on the ear or whatever it takes to pass, the information back and forth. No one has the same app, or people don't have it all together. Everybody's pretty much got LinkedIn. I'm just saying, it's just what it is. It is LinkedIn. At the very least, I mean, if somebody, on other occasions, I've made a note on my phone, Lauren Feldman, you know what I mean? I write your name and then I know to look you up on LinkedIn and then I find you there. I'm just telling you that the whole business card approach it's way too old school, too time consuming. If you just dedicate yourself towards managing your network on LinkedIn, I don't sell for LinkedIn, but it just happens to be a great it's a great social site. Do that. I think you'll be way more productive.
Thank you, Gene Marks. Great talking to you as always.
Lauren, it is always fun to talk with you, and I look forward to talking with you next week as well. I'll make sure to have more opinions.
and piss off more people.
Yes.
You can learn more about Gene's business at marksgroup.net, and you can hear his weekly podcast, Small Biz Ahead, at sba.hartford.com. And let us know what you think of this podcast. If you have any complaints about Gene, of course, you can shoot me an email at Lauren, Loren, at 21hats.com, or simply by replying to your 21 Hats Morning Report. Have a great week, everyone.